Welcome to the Living Fullness podcast, where we talk all things life, virtue, and relationships. My name is Stina Constantine.
And my name is Father Sean Burns. And each month we welcome a guest on the show who will share one aspect of their Christian life that they've found helps them to live life to the full.
Hello and welcome to the Living Fullness podcast. On this week's episode, I have a guest for you, Peta Evans. Peta is a wife, a mother of 4 children, and a passionate advocate for supporting women and families in life-challenging circumstances. Living in Albury, Peta is the founder and manager of Esencia Life Centre, a pregnancy centre which supports women facing unexpected pregnancies, as well as offering compassionate healing to those experiencing pregnancy loss. She also serves on the board of Pregnancy Help Australia, which is dedicated to supporting pregnancies centres across the nation. When Peta isn't counselling and journeying with women through their pregnancies and loving on her family, she's a bit of an artist, and I've seen some of her beautiful work. She creates some vibrant landscapes and floral artworks. Peta Evans, welcome to the Living Fullness podcast.
Oh, thank you, Stina. Thanks for having me.
So welcome. I'm so excited for this conversation. I was saying to you just before recording, when I met you recently at a fundraiser, or heard you speak rather at a recent fundraiser, I thought, why in the world have we not had Peta Evans on the podcast? We have got to get her on the podcast. So when I sent you that email, I was like, I'd like to send you an invite, but secretly I'm like praying you never say no. Like, what do I have to do to convince you?
Didn't take much convincing, especially since I heard you speak to our beautiful young women at our school, and that was so lovely. It was lovely to be there with my daughter and to hear about virtue and growth. Yeah, so I'm excited to be with you too.
Yeah, awesome. So maybe we can start with Peta by having a little bit of a conversation about the Esencia Life Centre, but really about your connection to it. Where, in the story of Peta, where does the Esencia Life Centre fit in for you?
Well, I love that I'm sitting right here in the space now because it's such a beautiful place to be in. And a lot of people who come in, they always just say, wow, it's so welcoming, it's warm, it's beautiful. It feels so peaceful in here. I love particularly when men come in and they look really like kind of shocked, but excited to be here too, because it does exhibit a beautiful feminine feel about it, but men love being here as well. So I think that's lovely. So it's a real reflection, I guess, of me because I love beauty. Beauty is so important. And I think that when we were creating Esencia, it was about what could we do that could provide a safe space for women? How could it be really welcoming? And how can they really feel like when they walk in, there's like this idea that they're loved, that they have dignity and worth by just the way that we've set things up for them. So I guess that's a lot about the physical surroundings. And then the heart of it was this idea of creating an opportunity for hope, help and healing for women. And that was around unexpected pregnancy. So it really grew out of that grassroots idea that if a woman is facing an unexpected pregnancy, what she needs is security. Because the key thing is that she's going to feel immediately that sense of, will I be abandoned? Will I be rejected if I have this baby, if I continue with this pregnancy? And so I think that's why it needs to be a space that they feel welcomed and loved in and safe. So that's the safety aspect. And then obviously to be able to provide counselling and those sorts of things so that they get the help, material resources. So
there's a lot of thought. There's a lot of details there that has gone into even just the physical space, the way you were describing it, right? That's a lot of thought that's gone into creating that kind of an atmosphere where both men and women can recognize straight away, wow, there's something really calming and really safe in this place. Tell us a little bit more. You were saying that hope, help and healing aspect, where did that kind of come about for you? How did you come to realize actually these need to be the three things, if you will, that we need to center this work around?
I think for me, hope is such an important aspect of this whole thing, because if you're facing an unexpected pregnancy, you're really frightened. I mean, fear is the key thing that drives the decisions that you're going to make around this. And so much of fear is driven by your fears about your own identity. Like, you know, am I able to do this? You know, can I be a mother? Can I do this? Am I enough? You know, so there's a lot of fear. And I think that's where the hope comes in, is this idea that, you know, beforehand, when you're facing an unexpected pregnancy, you need that. And then also, like, if you find yourself in a position where you've had an abortion, or you feel like you have to have that abortion and you have that abortion, then this idea that you can still come to a place like this and be received with love, with the same dignity that we receive you if you are contemplating an abortion. You're just as loved. So that's where the hope comes in as well afterwards, because I think a lot of women feel completely hopeless, that there is no healing for them, and they bury that away. So that's why hope is so important. The help aspect is, you know, like I guess because we've always had an idea, particularly in the past, around sort of just material help, like, you know, if we can, you know, if we get the resources and we provide those things. Like, we have beautiful mother's gifts that we have here ready beside the front door, a little pamper pack that a woman would get after her first visit with us, that's been generously donated to us. And then we have these lovely, what we call our mother and bubba joy boxes, that are just full of goodies like baby suits and hand knitted items and, you know, things for mum to really feel special about that and to get excited about her new phase of life. So we have all those sorts of things. But there's that real, like, what does she practically need just in her life, just to do this transition inside of herself? And see, you would know so much about that, Stina, with counselling, you know, and that's why we want to be able to walk alongside her and really sort of nourish her on the inside with that sort of help. And then the healing aspect is, well, it's so broad, but I really love helping women after abortion. Like, it's such a hard thing to do, but it's actually just such a gift as well to be able to come into a place of vulnerability like that with a woman and share her grief with her, and to be honoured to be the person to be able to hold that grief with her.
It's such a sensitive space to work in, because I think because the emotions are so raw and they're so, like, the fear is a real heightened fear. Even depending on where the person is sitting post terminating their pregnancy, whether it be guilt or whether it be sadness or confusion, or all of them are so heightened that it's not just a simmer that's happening in the background. And I think that's part of that's certainly been my experience of it. It's what makes it so sensitive to sit in the room with either a pregnancy loss or an unexpected pregnancy. So I can see so much light coming from both of that hope and the help aspect of it. Never mind the healing that comes from it, right? That's the ongoing. But the hope and the help aspect, there's just so much light and joy that can be given so freely.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And it does take a lot. Like, it's a lot of people find this work difficult. And a lot of it is around our own fear of what are our expectations, you know, either of the woman who's coming to you, or our expectations of what we should be able to provide and what we can give. And how much is this up to us? And it's been a journey. It's been a journey for me, you know, to have to go through a lot of these experiences to realize that it really is the presence. It's about being present with her so that she can be fully herself. Because a lot of what is driving her fear is around, what do other people think about my situation? And what will they think of me? And it's amazing how much we think we've moved, in time past these ideas of shame, but we have not. Women, are carrying, feelings of shame around an unexpected pregnancy. And that's where we need to really meet her with gentleness and compassion. So I think the important thing is around being present to a woman, to be able to be beside her in her anxiety, in her fear, and allowing her to be herself without the masks. Because this is the thing, she's got masks on that she's trying to, placate other people, or she's fearful of what they will think. And so if we can just allow her the space, give her the generosity of this space and time so that she can just be with this question and herself, and then, allow her to make that decision. Yeah. And we do try to do our best to just, provide what she needs in that moment in terms of support, education around pregnancy, fetal development, abortion, and what that entails if she's contemplating abortion.
And I think that's part of the misconception sometimes of what can happen in pregnancy centres. What you're talking about is being able to afford a person just the time and space to be. And I think coming back to the way you described even the physical space, it says that parallels, that, it's the same messaging even in the physical space, that she's received into that space. She's welcomed into that space to be as she is. And I think sometimes the misconception can be that actually, no, pregnancy centres are all about trying to convince you of one way and to be a particular way. And what you're saying is actually just the absolute opposite, is to know we're actually just here to welcome her.
That's it, to welcome her and her unborn baby in that moment, and just allowing her to receive. I just think that is so important, and that is key to begin with. And yes, I think there is a lot of fear around the idea that we might force our ideas on a woman, but the reality is that we just want to be present with her. And and I think there's something important too to say, that we are like having a centre like this that is separate. So we don't refer for abortion, whereas many counselling services are actually connected to an abortion facility or has a referral pathway in that, and that actually takes away from her freedom.
Because then it's biased, isn't it? There's already a way, a path that those who work there are going to be encouraged to refer their clients onto, whether that is what that client needs or not at that time.
Right. That's right. And also too, just not having the fullness of the information. Like when you have this understanding about what can happen to a woman post-abortion, that's very different to how a lot of people, particularly around in the counselling area, they might not understand what post-abortion syndrome is, the effects of an abortion on a woman's mental, physical, emotional health. And if you don't have that information to give to her so she can freely, again, contemplate her decision, knowing what it could be like for her in the future, then again, that's another opportunity that we can give that to a woman, because there have been so many times I've spoken to women post-abortion who've said, I did not know this information.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
didn't know about fetal development, or I didn't know there could be support for a woman. I didn't know, so many things. So yeah, it makes the difference.
The ones that I've struggled with are the ones who didn't expect to feel the grief. who were told they wouldn't feel any different, who were told misinformation really about what this would be like for them, what this experience could be like for them.
That's right.
They're the ones that I've struggled with as a therapist, to sit there and go, how did your caring professionals not give you all of the information that you deserved to have?
Well, and so many of the times it's because they don't know themselves, or they're fearful around, finding out more, in terms of what post-abortion could mean for a woman. Like, particularly in the medical profession, like that's a big problem, in the sense that if we acknowledge the fact that a woman might have detrimental effects on her psychological, health after an abortion, and yet we're referring women, to that. So there's a lot of problem and conflict around that. And so, yes, it does make it hard, I think, for women to actually get the information they need to be well informed. Yeah. And especially, if they go to a GP after an abortion feeling depressed or anxious or having panic attacks, nightmares, sleeplessness, ideation, all these things that could happen, sadly, a GP might not understand the connection, to having had an abortion. So unfortunately, they wouldn't know, and she's not going to be informed either about how to then follow that up in terms of how can she get the help she needs, which is going to need to be counselling.
Yeah, so there's lots of missing information in lots of different parts of the journey, not just in what the woman may receive when she finds out she's expecting, but also in the professionals around her and the people that are assisting her. I want to come back to your story, though. I feel like we probably jumped into the Esencia conversation. How did you kind of decide this was the space you needed to work in or wanted to work in? What's kind of your story there?
I just have a real heart for women. I know that. My own journey with pregnancy and motherhood was really difficult. So my husband is a GP. And so when we were expecting our first, I think he was doing his last, no, he's doing his last year of medicine. So, a busy husband. Then we moved rurally around Queensland for 4 years because we were paying back a scholarship through Queensland Health. And so just, really noticing how hard it was to be a mum and to go through pregnancy and to not be close to family. And I experienced postnatal depression after my first child, and it wasn't diagnosed. And so I really struggled with that. But then after our second, I actually really had a terrible situation where I had to go to hospital. And, going through that process was so humbling. Like I had all these ideas about, motherhood and how I was going to be able to do motherhood. And just realizing that it can be lonely. We can suffer a lot, and we just really need, I think we need support to do it well. And so I think that's kind of one aspect of why I did Esencia, because I just want mothers to feel like they're supported and loved. And then the other key part of it is just loving young women as well. And so seeing how all of that, I mean, obviously the choices that we make as young women is so foundational about how we're going to be moving into this whole transition of motherhood. And so, and I think that seeing a lot of young women and being vulnerable around this whole, sexuality and unexpected pregnancy, and then feeling like having an abortion is a solution at the time, but how that can have those sort of long range effects on her whole life. And so wanting to be able to help with that. So I guess, Esencia really encapsulates all of that.
And was this something that because you obviously weren't living in Albury at the time, initially, you weren't in Queensland. Was that something that was kind of growing in you from back in Queensland, or did it kind of, I don't know, were there seeds planted when you came to Albury, or how come it ended up in Albury?
How come? I know. So I mean, when we moved to Albury, there was a functioning abortion clinic in Albury.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that really striking in the sense that Albury is not a big town to me. Like, I was like, well, this is not a big city anyway. And there's this abortion facility here. And yet there's no pregnancy support.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot of why I wanted to create the safe space. Because if the abortion clinic is the one that's providing the counselling and it's wrapped up in the service of abortion, then that is not helping women.
Yeah. It's certainly not giving women all the options then, as we were talking about before. It's already a funnel.
Yes.
And that's, okay. So seeing that was a bit, striking for you is what you were saying. And that kind of prompted you to do something about it?
Absolutely. Like, it just sets my heart on fire about that, because I just, this idea that we have all this beauty as women, like, we're so beautiful and God has created us for a particular purpose. And to see that a woman wouldn't know what she's losing when she enters that abortion clinic, to not really understand the cost that it's going to place in so many ways on her life, that is what really motivates me, to be able to help before she has that experience.
And so was it then a case of going, you know what, I'm going to start a centre, or did you kind of go, I'm going to start a practice, or like how does Esensia actually, form and become Esensia?
It's so beautiful that we're talking about this at this stage, because actually it was 11 years ago that we started Esensia, and it was myself and a good friend. And what I can say is we need good friends, right? Because when we are connected with people who know us and see us, they actually call forward a passion inside of us to do what it is that we have been given as a purpose in our life. And so for me, that person was Regina Dawson. She was a good friend. And so together, with our combined gifts, we founded Esensia. And so it's so beautiful how, God does bring these people into your life, because she is so fantastic with organisation and details and finding just the right thing to put on the shelf right here. And I'm very much a big picture. Like, I can see the vision for years to come. I can see a million different ways I want to grow it. I might not have the resources at the time. I've certainly got the and so really initially it just was such a simple beginning of people, like-minded people coming together and wanting to do the mission. And I think that's why, really we can all do our mission if we have the desire, because it's just about getting the like-minded people together, and then you can really do anything with, good help and good prayer and good discernment and direction. And so we just hired a small space, which is the one I'm sitting in currently. And we only had one little room that we were working out of for counselling. And then, it's just kind of like incrementally, it's just developed and grown. And we had this, I actually thought we were going to close in 2019 because, we'd worked so hard, but there'd been a lot of struggle. And did we have enough money to keep going? Did I have enough energy? I'd had my, was pregnant with my fourth when we opened Esensia. So there's a lot to juggle as a mum.
Yeah.
It was, I think it's just one of those things that's grown and developed. But yes, so nearly closed. And then we kept one side going because we'd actually hired two sides by this time. And then after COVID, we had the opportunity to lease back the other side of this property. And then we did a little renovation, which gave us the opportunity to have two counselling rooms and extend my opportunity to decorate even more.
What's a bit more beauty? It's fine.
I can paint more pictures for the rooms.
Yeah.
Any excuse to paint. So that's why, like, it's so funny. Currently we have two counselling rooms on this side where I'm sitting, and then on the other side we have like this cafe space. And so that's where we can run workshops, mother's morning teas. We've got a like mamas to be newborn workshop that's going to be on in a couple of weeks. Lots of opportunities to be able to receive women and just love them with hospitality and warmth. So, yeah.
Yeah, wow. Okay. You've kind of painted a picture of what the centre looks like now for those of us who haven't been. I think the last time I was there must have been pre-COVID. I used to drop into the cafe and grab a cuppa on my way through, meeting friends and so on. So, but I haven't been since. So I'm sure it looks very different now.
Well, not too much different, but you should come back.
Yeah, yeah. Just come and see what other artwork's been added to the decor.
Absolutely.
What about the name Esencia? What does it have a connection to something? What does it mean?
It means the lifeblood, the heart of something. And so that's what I guess I see Esensia as, a heart, and that the life can flow from it. So how can we be life-giving? That's a key concept in a lot of the training that I do for our volunteers or counsellors is how can we be life-giving to those who we meet, and how can that go out into the community? It's just that key concept that ties in really beautifully with the hope, help and healing as well.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, because now we're talking more in terms of the context of outside of the centre, right? We're talking about the day-to-day interactions that we might have with one another. How can we create a more life-giving, life-nurturing culture within our own pockets of communities, within our own families, our own friendships?
Beautiful question. So there's so many different ways that you could do that. To begin with, I think it is always just so lovely to be able to congratulate someone when you do hear that someone's having a baby or whatever. It's even in the most difficult circumstances, like even when it's hard, it's just so beautiful to say, I see you, to look at the woman and, like, congratulations, even if this is hard for you, like, it's beautiful, like you're there with them. And it actually gives her the opportunity to be able to really celebrate that as well. Because in my understanding, even when it's a difficult situation, most women, when they take a pregnancy test and they see that it's a positive, have a feeling of excitement first, right? It's that pure, like the pure receiving of, wow, this is exciting. It's after that, like, that all the reality that comes in on top of it. Like, oh my goodness, I've already got this many kids, or, like me, I've been dealing with postnatal depression, and how am I really going to love another child and deal with what I'm dealing with in my home and family? Like, or it could be that you're recognizing that someone else in your life doesn't want to have another baby, whether it be your husband or your partner. The situation of being young and wondering what your parents will think of you now that you are pregnant. So I think it's just, yes, if we can, be encouraging first, because actually it really speaks to the dignity of the human person, doesn't it? Like, it speaks to her dignity.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also says something about acknowledging that life is good.
Yeah.
there's something good happening here. And I know that that can be really challenging, particularly with those circumstances that you described before, that I know for a lot of people, you encounter someone who is sharing the news of their pregnancy, and in the culture now, the first response we tend to have is, what do I say? Can I say congratulations, or should I be saying, that's really hard? And so most people will just go, how do you feel about it? With a very hesitating, worried look on their face. And I can only imagine what that must be like for the mother who's sharing the news.
Yeah.
Whether they feel good about it or they feel stressed about it or worried about it. But for that to be the response of most people around them, I can imagine is only adding that judgment and fear.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's about the judgment. So, because if you are really concerned, what does that say? Like the woman's probably thinking, well, does she think I can't do this even though things are hard? Or, yeah, I think just to be able to sort of come forward first with joy is just a beautiful thing. And it's so hard, isn't it? Like, we worry about what other people are going to think, and we don't want to hurt other people, and we do want to be sensitive.
But I've also seen the flip side of it as well, which I guess is what makes me so much more aware of that now, is because I've heard a grandmother who had their, I think it was their granddaughter, must have been their granddaughter, came around and told them the news that they were expecting, and they weren't married, and this was an unexpected pregnancy, and they were, willing to take on that life, but it was a surprise. They didn't plan this, and they went to the grandmother and shared the news, and they knew that the grandmother was very much going to be open to this new life. But watching the grandmother's excitement, this granddaughter broke down into tears, and the grandmother sharing the story with me, and she's telling me, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, why is she crying? And I was like, are you okay? What's going on? You're the first person who's been excited for my news. I shared it with all of my friends. None of them were excited the way you are. Just went, oh my goodness. And this is young people today. Like,
yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, it is. But I love that you've really drawn out that reaction for people to notice, because I think a key thing in all of this too is for women, oftentimes if they've had some sort of disconnection with their mother, then oftentimes it is really hard to receive a new life, to be, there's certainly a huge connection there. And I see that in the counselling that we've done with women as well, like whether it's been mum who has, encouraged her to have an abortion, or actually, facilitated the abortion process by taking her there. Those sorts of things. It's oftentimes what she's really wanting, even though it's really hard, is just for mum to see her and love her and say, I accept you and I accept this new life.
Yeah. Yeah. Without any condition attached.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm also aware that we have like a second centre almost happening in our diocese as well. Tell us a little bit about the connection with Albury and the newer one that's kind of been around for a little bit, and has a building now, or has an office space now.
So yes, Claire Enver's done a beautiful job of, bringing to life, like it's like we've birthed a new centre, which is really beautiful. And Claire was with me when we first opened Esencia here. And so I was having my fourth, and Claire was manager of our centre for a few years. I can't actually remember how long it was before she had to then, go off to do her own thing. But, she's been married and she's had children, and now she's been in this position of like, wow, wouldn't it be wonderful to have what we had in Albury? Let's do this in Wagga. And again, she's done what we did here, gathered together with her some like-minded, faithful people who want to help. And it's just been a real privilege for me to be able to help Claire to make it easier for her, because I know the struggle. Like it's so much work, you know, even though I talk about the joy of it and how beautiful it is and so wonderful to work here, it's actually a really big job and it's a hard job. And so someone who's willing to, you know, to put in the energy that's involved and the self-sacrifice is just so beautiful. And so we'll see the fruits of that, right? And already, you know, it's gone from being just a virtual centre to now being able to rent a space. They're building on their training at the moment. So that's going to be a really lovely thing that, you know, soon they'll just really, I guess, feel that confidence around receiving more people into their centre. But it's just baby steps. And you know what? This is so much what's happening all across Australia. It's actually amazing that in like the last 5 years, I think, it's been nearly double the amount of like centre growth across Australia, which is just incredible. Which to me just says is, okay, this is the time. This is the time for pregnancy centres to really bloom. And that's something that I've been, you know, really excited now to be involved with Pregnancy Help Australia, because having experienced their support in getting our centre running and to just have that real professionalism that we have around our centre, to have that guidance, to be able to give that to fledgling little baby centres is really nice. So, yeah, we call them hubs of love, by the way.
Cute. I love it.
It's such a beautiful name. It was actually coined by Lara Winwood, who she is our president of Pregnancy Help Australia, or CEO, I should say. I think that's right terminology. But yeah, and so she's been really instrumental in helping all of those centres grow.
Wow. Yeah, that's really sweet. Lots of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's also the challenges that come with starting something new, right? When you've done it once and you've learnt from it and you're 11 years down the track, that's a lot of trial and error and learning and adjusting, and you're kind of offering all the best bits to the next person, which is such a gift for you to be able to give and go, look, I've done these bits. Don't do that. Learn from my mistakes. These are the things that I learned along the way that were super helpful that I would have implemented like straight away had I known it. Take it. Just take it. It's such a gift to be able to share.
It is, yeah. And also too, the giving between the two centres as well now. So, you know, obviously clients call in that are from more the Wagga area, then we can refer back that way. And, you know, vice versa. And it just means that obviously we can reach so many more women. And that's so beautiful, because we have we've obviously got our physical centres, but we also I have been doing a lot of counselling via Zoom. And so to now, obviously, if there's clients up there to be able to go to a real, you know, centre and meet with people, it's just lovely.
Yeah. And I know Claire, she's a lovely human being. So
she is.
In good hands. Yeah. What about, I'm conscious also that we've spoken a lot about our women. What about the dads? Is there a space where it may not be within Esensia, but is there, you know, something for the dads who might be surprised by a pregnancy they weren't anticipating, or are actually open to life but find it difficult? You know, maybe there's some financial pressures. They've already got multiple children or various other circumstances. Is there support for our dads?
Yeah, beautiful question. We try to reach out to men as well, and we certainly receive them here. So oftentimes we might have a couple come in together, or, you know, if possible too, like we can see them separately. But we have actually had men access our service just on their own as well. So I think it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to talk to men about this issue, because so much of this is around their ability to, receive this new life, to have the confidence that they can do this, and to be able to give that to the woman. So it's so funny because, you know, pretty much every man in our society now has grown up with this idea that it's her choice. It's her right to choose. So whatever she chooses, I will be supportive of. But what a woman hears in that, even though they think that's what they want, because we've been told that's what we want, when they're actually in the situation of being pregnant in an unexpected situation, they actually just want their husband or partner to say, I'm here for you. You know, actually, if you want to have this baby, I want to have this baby with you. How can we do this together? How can I be there for you? Because I think men feel very hesitant around being able to voice their own desires, you know, particularly if it is to continue that pregnancy. They just feel like they don't have that. So how can we help them have that as well, have a chance to, to be able to express that. So again, it's sort of similar in the sense that they need to be able to put the mask down as well and, you know, speak what's happening for them in their life. And, you know, they've got concerns around how their wife or their partner might be able to cope. So it's really talking about how they can support their loved one as best they can through it as well.
So our men could pick up the phone and call Esensia as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, I've had a few men over the years. I love working with them. It's wonderful. Yeah. So.
I mean, it says something about the readiness and the openness of the man if he does pick up the phone or he does walk into the centre, right? It speaks volumes about what he considers is going on right now and who he says he sees himself as and the willingness that he has to want to grow. So
yeah, absolutely.
Nothing short of inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And I've walked with men actually where they've really wanted to, support the woman to continue the pregnancy. And in situations where that woman's decided she's still going to have the abortion and how crushing that has been for him. And just to be able to be beside him in his pain and grief around that. That's been a privilege as well. And to have
I can't imagine there would be many pockets in our society that would have a space like that for a man. You know, you might be able to go a generalist counsellor for some grief and loss work, but when the culture speaks so loudly about whose responsibility and whose choice it is to determine what happens with that pregnancy, I imagine there wouldn't be very many pockets really ready to receive men in a similar way.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, considering so many women don't know how to find, you know, the majority of women who come to me say, oh, if only I'd known that your service existed, you know, years ago, or why haven't I heard of it? And, you know, these are the struggles that we face of actually being able to get this as an option out there for men and women.
Yeah. So as we kind of try to wrap up today's conversation then, Peta, tell everyone where can people go to find out about Esensia and to connect with Esensia?
Okay, so we have our website, so you can hop on and just go to esencialifecentre.org and see the sorts of services that we have there, or you can just come into our centre as well. So we're in Lavington, opposite Coles, so we're down from Vinnie's, very close, right next to Rehoboth Medical Centre, so it's easy to access. And then, of course, you have your Wagga Centre as well. And,
awesome.
we do face-to-face counselling or Zoom. Got lots of ways to connect.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today, Peta, to be able to have this conversation with us and to share your work and the call that you've had placed upon you that you've just so, you know, valiantly taken on and kind of run with it. It's awesome. It's inspiring. It's really inspiring. Love your enthusiasm and energy for the work that you have here and the attention to detail that you have in caring for the women. As we kind of end this episode, we like to be able to do a bit of a truth, beauty and goodness moment. So if there's been something in the last kind of week or two where you've really encountered God in some way that you would be open to sharing with our community, is there something that jumps to mind, or shall I give you a moment to think?
No, very quickly
Okay.
jumps to mind straight away is a beautiful prayer time this morning that I had with it was actually Mary in Bethany as she breaks the costly nard oil over our Lord's feet. And just in that expression of complete generosity, her connection with our Lord, her desire to want to really love and honour him, and just the blessing that is. So in the scripture, I think I even wrote this down today. It was about the scent of the ointment that filled that house in Bethany. And in one of our Bible studies that we did with Lisa Brennickmeyer, she spoke about the fragrance that fills the church. And that St. John was possibly talking about this idea of the fragrance that fills the church. So I guess that would be, my takeaway is the gift that we give of ourselves to Christ and the gift that we give of ourselves to whatever work he's called us to is the fragrance in the church.
Beautiful. That is quotable. I love it. I love it. That, I think I will probably sit with that today. That's gonna be something just for me to mull with. Wow. One for me this week has just been the change in season. I love the change in season. I love watching creation kind of put on your new set of clothes. But, just kind of, it looks so different. The air smells different. You can feel the change happening. And it was just the other day, I heard the kookaburras again. And I haven't heard them in a little while. And I'm sure it's not because they haven't been there. I'm sure it's because I haven't been paying attention. But the change in season made me pay more closer attention to it again. So I went, the kookaburras. I got to remember to thank God for the kookaburras.
That's so funny because I heard them over breakfast this morning as well. I mentioned them. So we are definitely on the same wavelength.
I love it.
And the change for me as an artist, it's the change of light, which is just so significant. And everything softens as we head into winter. So it's exciting because it is such a beautiful time, autumn.
Yeah, it's a completely different colour palette that you get to play with as well.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, thank you so much again, Peta, for joining us this week. And thank you guys for joining us over either on YouTube or listening on all your podcast streaming platforms. Make sure you jump over to Patreon and support the Living Fullness podcast to be able to continue to do this, to pay our editors, to be able to provide, services to provide you with further guests, really. So jump over to Patreon, join us there, go and follow us on all our social media handles to find out what is happening next on the podcast and over at Virtue Ministry. But until next week, know of our love and press.
If you enjoyed having our guest on the show as much as we did, please consider jumping over to Patreon and supporting the podcast.
Your donation will help cover the costs of this podcast and give you access to some behind-the-scenes content with our guests to give you an even deeper insight into how they live a Christ-like life.